This is KGW News at 11.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Brittany Folkers, and we begin with the ripple effect of the war in Ukraine. President Biden signed a $40 billion aid package to help Ukraine in its battle with Russia this weekend. But compassion is coming on a community level too. A Ukrainian family in Happy Valley is taking in refugees fleeing war. Galen Etlin shares what these refugees face, escaping one challenge for another.
Notes of sadness fill this living room. A family in Happy Valley sings a prayer for their home country, Ukraine. Newlyweds Irina and Ivan spoke through a translator.
When we left Mariupol,
A city now largely destroyed by Russian troops.
Everything you see on the news, everything that's happening, this is reality.
The couple escaped in March with nothing but 2 bags, arriving to the U.S. in April.
More Ukrainian people will come.
Victoria and her husband have lived in the U.S. for about 5 years and are now housing Ivan and Irina, their extended family. They have many more loved ones stuck in Ukraine.
And sometimes they hear shootings, very scary, we are worried about them.
They say it's too expensive to bring everyone here, especially since it takes months for refugees to get work authorization to help support themselves in Oregon. Meanwhile, the situation in Ukraine remains dire. Many left with little food and water as cities burn and crumble. The memories are raw.
Every time the shooting happened, or the bombing happened, we gathered in our rooms. We didn't know how much more or how much more time we have.
The couple had just bought their first home in Mariupol, a home that's now destroyed. They're expecting a baby in September, which will be born into a foreign country and culture.
she's just amazed how the people are so kind and caring around here. Even her nieces and nephews' school that offered gift cards and cards.
Gratitude for safety, but also notes of sadness and hope for all of those left behind. Now, Ivan is an electrical engineer and Irina is a teacher and choir director. The family has a GoFundMe to help support them as they try to get work authorization. And you can find that and other ways to help Ukrainians in general on KGW.com. Brittany?
It's just so important to hear these stories. Galen, thank you so much. Portland continues to push toward another record year for homicides, and we saw another deadly shooting today in the Lentz neighborhood. Officers were called to a shooting near Southeast Ramona and 99th around 2:45. When they got there, someone had already taken the victim to a fire station. He was then brought to a hospital by ambulance, where he later died. Investigators say no one was taken into custody in connection to this shooting. Anyone with information should contact Portland police. And now to an update on the baby formula shortage that's left parents scrambling. The first shipment of baby formula from Europe arrived in the U.S. today. And for one local mom, it couldn't come any sooner. She depends on baby formula for her 5-month-old because a thyroid condition keeps her from producing enough milk. And her baby is lactose intolerant.
She was underweight at one point, and so that was really stressful. So formula has played a super important part in our ability to feed and nourish our baby.
The nationwide shortage of formula stems from a few factors. The pandemic and war in Ukraine caused supply chain issues, and then the shutdown of the biggest formula manufacturing plant in the U.S. Abbott voluntarily closed down their Michigan plant in February after reports of serious bacterial infections in 4 infants, including 2 deaths. Sunday's delivery is part of Operation Fly Formula, moving imports of formula into the U.S. The White House authorized the use of Air Force planes for this effort because no commercial flights were available. While federal officials are saying they're working as quickly as possible, it's still not fast enough for some families.
people are patting themselves on the back a bit prematurely. I mean, I think for moms that are having to deal with the fear right now, I don't think that that's reassuring. I mean, if I was out of formula today, which, was just a matter of chance that we have this canister from Costco still left, I mean, I would be, sorry, that wouldn't cut it for me.
The shipment that arrived today is just one of several flights expected from Europe. It will be sent to hospitals and primary care doctors to distribute to patients who need it. Well, we want to turn now to the homeless crisis and the issue of poverty reaching every corner of our state. In Central Oregon, data shows homelessness rose by 17% this past year. To gain perspective, people in Redmond put themselves in the shoes of those on the brink. Around 30 people took part in a poverty simulation to learn what poverty looks like and the challenges in overcoming it. Participants were assigned a new identity and put into a household with others, all based on real people and real life experiences. While the simulation only scratches the surface of what poverty looks like, it was a challenge.
Poverty is brutal and it is crushing. And it doesn't care who you are, it doesn't care where you started. We've got to try to find a better system to help these folks navigate through the world that they live in.
The simulation was hosted Friday by Oasis Village at Mountain View Fellowship Church in Redmond, and it was created in partnership with Rogue Retreat, a homeless services organization. Years into it, and we're still navigating life in a pandemic. Well, now a new report is helping to give the past 2+ years some historical context. Tim Gordon spoke with a professor at Oregon State University who compared the 1918 flu pandemic to the current COVID times. And there's some lessons to be learned.
For more than 2 years, our lives have been changed by a worldwide pandemic. Now, U.S. officials are suggesting a big surge of COVID-19 could infect 100 million Americans this coming fall and winter. That's hard news to hear, but it's not surprising for people who've studied the 1918 flu pandemic. Experts just published an article comparing that outbreak to our current pandemic to answer a critical question.
Which is, how do pandemics end? Do they ever end? And what are the aftermath or aftermaths of a pandemic? Can we see that historically? What might we be able to expect, or what kinds of questions should we be asking ourselves?
Christopher McKnight Nichols is the director of OSU's Center for Humanities and a history professor. He, along with other experts, see many similarities between the influenza pandemic of the past and our current COVID crisis. First, that both diseases will very likely live on and take lives.
So, short answer is no, pandemic isn't over. And the long answer is the same thing with the flu. The flu's still with us, right? 100+ years later. COVID will probably still be with us in 100 years.
Nichols knows that after 2+ years, COVID fatigue is real and understandable. But he is concerned that, like in the early 1900s, people ignoring the facts and deciding it's over will make us less safe.
So one of the things you see in the historical record is mayors and public health officials hoping the pandemic is over and yanking off measures, even when they didn't have vaccines and other things. And then you have much higher surges, a second peak that's worse.
Some of the methods of fighting disease haven't changed much. In 1918, they used quarantines, similar hygiene practices, and what we call social distancing today. But there are differences between now and then, when efforts to develop effective vaccines did not work. That's not the case today. Modern medicine and public health infrastructure is much better. But Nichols says the science still isn't the final decider.
From my perspective as a historian, the ending of a pandemic is political or psychological. It isn't biological or epidemiological. And that's something that we could get across to people almost regardless of their politics.
So learning from the past is, in essence, realizing it's up to us to responsibly deal with a disease that will be with us at some level for a very long time.
We need to figure out how to take on board those lessons and make better judgments moving forward, which may mean restricting our lives a bit. And I think we need to be comfortable with that.
Tim Gordon, KGW News.
Nichols hopes the article, published by Cambridge University Press, will be used and shared by teachers, but it is available free to anyone online. We have that link for you right now at kgw.com.